I'm reading today from Rays of the One Light. These are Bible and Bhagavad Gita comparison commentaries written by Swami Kriya-yoga and based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Today's reading is entitled, Can Man See God? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. There is a saying in chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John that would seem to respond with a definite no to that question, can man see God? The saying is, no man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. Many great saints, however, claim to have seen God. If we ask then, can God be seen, rather than can man see God, the answer is yes. Else these saints lied and the scriptures themselves lied. For Jesus also said, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The point is, it is not man, this human body, these human eyes that sees God. God can be seen only with spiritual vision, with the eye of the soul. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Thou canst not see me with mortal eyes, therefore I now give thee sight divine. Behold my supreme power of yoga. With these words, Hari, the exalted Lord of Yoga, revealed himself to Arjuna in his infinite form. Yogananda, in Autobiography of a Yogi, describes the supernal experience in words more readily comprehensible to modern minds than the poetic phraseology of the Bhagavad Gita. The chapter, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, is one of the most deeply inspiringly beautiful in all mystical literature. Here is a brief excerpt. An oceanic joy broke upon calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. I saw the divine dispersion of rays pour from an eternal source, blazing into galaxies, transfigured with ineffable auras. Again and again I saw the creative beams condense into constellations, then resolve into sheets of transparent flame. By rhythmic reversions, sextillion worlds passed into diaphanous luster. Fire became firmament. I cognized the center of the Empyrean as a point of intuitive perception in my heart. Irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure. The creative voice of God I heard resounding as Om, the vibration of the cosmic motor. This, so the great masters aver, is what God is. And this also, they insist, is what we are in our deepest reality. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Jyotish told a very sweet joke recently, and I thought I would share it with you all. So there are 3 animals who have died and gone to heaven. And St. Peter is sitting at the pearly gates waiting to usher in everyone, animal and human. And he asks questions of each person or animal at the pearly gates. So these 3 animals show up, and St. Peter is sitting there, and he turns to the first animal, who's a German shepherd. And he says, "Welcome. Now, tell me what you did with your life and why I should let you into heaven." And the German shepherd says, "Well, I was a seeing eye dog. My whole life, I helped people. And that's all I did. I just helped people the whole time." And St. Peter says, "Oh, that's wonderful. Why don't you come here and just sit here by my right side?" And he turns to the next animal, who is a border collie. And he says, "So tell me, what did you do that you think I should let you into heaven?" And the collie said, "Well, I was very faithful to my person, who was a farmer, and I herded his sheep every day. I made sure there were no stray sheep in the flock so that they wouldn't go off and get hurt. I just protected them all day, and that was my life. I was very loyal, and I worked very hard." And St. Peter said, "That's wonderful. Come and sit here beside me on my left side." And he turned to the third animal, who was a cat. And before he could say anything, the cat said, "You are on my chair." We all love our cats. But yeah, we know who owns the place whenever we have a cat. So today, with our topic of can man see God, I was reminded of a little short video that I watched of Richard Feynman, who was a brilliant scientist. He worked on the Manhattan Project. He was a professor. He had an energetic and brilliant mind. He was endlessly curious. And so I really recommend that you look up some of his videos and watch him, because he's just so magnetic. He's just seething with energy. He's just brilliant. Anyway, he was talking about light and how, we're in a room, there's a little bit of light, there's sunlight, there's all these things to see very distinctly. The harmonium is there, the chair, everything's very distinct. And he made, I wish I could paraphrase it better, but he called it a mess of energy. There are cosmic rays, there are radio waves, there are light waves, there are air waves. We're just bombarded with rays of light and sound. He called it a mess. Stephen Hawking calls it an energy soup. And Feynman made the point. He said, this human instrument is so delicately designed that we tune out all of those distracting rays of energy, and we just focus on what's here in front of us. It's truly miraculous. And we see such a small fraction, 1/100% of the actual thing that's going on all around us. We just perceive a tiny, tiny little bit of that spectrum of light, of sound. We all know dogs can hear better than we can. Birds can see colors we can't see. There's just so little that we can perceive. But if we expand our awareness and tune into the incredible energy that's all around us in nature and people, we start to get a little glimpse of God. There was kriya on Friday night at Ananda Village, and Dharmadas led it, and I was one of 6 blessers because there were 200 people plus in the temple. The temple was full, and there were 100 people online. So we stood there as blessers for quite some time, and it was very interesting to watch the sea of humanity and think about afterwards more than in the moment. I was just mesmerized. There were all these souls who had struggled, who had suffered, who had been angry and unhappy and in pain and sorrow. They'd struggled life after life after life, and it all led them to that moment of self-offering, of humility, of open-heartedness and receptivity. And they were offering themselves to God, just giving their hearts to God. And it bears repeating. We say this every once in a while, but whenever we're doing a blessing, it's not like we're saying, I, Nirmala, am now blessing you. It's in fact, Swami would say that he was so funny. You know, his sense of humor was just so brilliant. But he was talking about this one person who would give a talk, and she would say, don't look at Ma. Don't look at Ma. No, I'm not here. Just the guru is here. And just so full of herself that you couldn't help but look at her. But really, the point of doing a blessing is to not be there, to get yourself out of the way and try to channel this energy. Because truly, this little individual is nothing. It's only that which flows through it. And we are all instruments for that. It's not if we're just wearing blue, a blue dress up here. Every one of us who are disciples of Yogananda are his channel. In your life, you bless everyone with that energy. Anyway, so we were being channels of that, and Dharmadas had said some words about how to bless that just became my mantra when I was blessing people. Infuse them with God's light. And that got me out of the way. And then I could feel, as each person came up, whether they were drawing that light or blocking it. It was an amazing experience. I've never had that before, but it was a wonderful blessing for me. But that's, in essence, what we do every day, all day. We're either drawing God's light or we're blocking it. We have that choice. And as I looked out at each individual face, all these souls with their humble, loving hearts, I just thought, angels, just all angels. Swami sometimes, with the singers, would say, I see you all, they're just a choir of angels. And I remember a time, this was right after Swami had had cancer surgery, and he was in his home in India. recovering. And he was still in his bathrobe all day. And the choir came over to sing for him. And his house had a big open foyer, not as big as this room, maybe half as big as this. But a lot of singers could cram in there. And there was a staircase that led up to the room where the bedrooms were, and there was a landing there. So we put a good-sized landing, so we put his chair there, and he made it that far. And the choir sang, and I was up on the stairs to help Swami up and down, and their faces were just so beautiful that I took a photo of them, this big crowd of 30 or so singers. And it was that same feeling as the kriya. It was just angels. Because every face had the same look. Love, open-heartedness, receptivity, and just bliss. Every face. You get some group photos and some people are scowling and some people are whatever, but every face was just love. You can see God reflected. So we got a letter from a very dear friend. This person has been a friend for nearly 50 years. We're hardly ever on the same continent together. She's been serving all this time in other places, but this is what she said. The doctors found 2 malignant tumors. And she says, please know that I am neither frightened nor worried about this. And I absolutely don't want to see sad faces when I see you all. Please do send light and pray that God's will be done. Swamiji and Master and Divine Mother are vibrating their love and divine consciousness within me. Bless you, dear divine friends, my Guru Bhais. Your love and divine friendship have always sustained and strengthened me and will continue to do so. So that is how to greet every circumstance in life. Neither frightened nor worried. I have a little placard at home that I love. It says, "Pray about everything, worry about nothing." It's a quote from St. Paul. Let's live our lives as channels for God. That's what our friend has done all these years. She's hardly thought of herself ever. She's just served and been a friend to countless hundreds of people, loving them, serving God in them. And now she's going through this without a care in the world because she is supported and loved and still serving and still loving God in everyone. She's seeing God in everyone. And let's do the same.
In the spirit of little goofy stories that involve heaven, here's another one. This is God trying to test the limits of Sherlock Holmes in heaven. And so he invites Sherlock Holmes into this room that has countless people. And he knows that Sherlock Holmes has never met any of these people. So he wants to see, can you recognize somebody from this group? And if so, how? So Sherlock Holmes walks around for a little while, and he says, well, these two, Adam and Eve. And God is like, how can you know that? He says, elementary, my dear God. They're the only two that don't have belly buttons. Apropos of basically nothing, but this fun. This topic, can man see God, and the song and the scriptures. It's interesting, the Bhagavad Gita passage where Krishna is offering to show Arjuna his infinite form goes on. You know, we're just getting the moment of. He says, you know, I'm going to give you sight divine, and then there he is. But the passage goes on and on and on, describing what Arjuna sees. You know, and it's a little strange, and Swamiji used to sort of take this to task. In fact, it's a very sweet in the Bhagavad Gita translation. That's just the small book, just the Gita passages itself, not the interpretations. He rephrases a little bit of the translation, and he asks the reader's forgiveness. It's very sweet, because the typical translation, the literal translation, thousands of mouths and thousands of eyes, and it's sort of like, it's kind of freaky to think of all these mouths and eyes, and it's a little much. But anyway, the passage goes on to Arjuna's response to this experience. And Arjuna is, you might say, overwhelmed. In fact, he says, the hair is standing up on my arms and my head. You know, it's like straight up. It's just, this is too much. He's basically saying, you know, Krishna has given him sight divine because we can't see God with mortal eyes, but with divine vision we can. But we have to sort of be ready for that. And this, as Nirmala was describing the cosmic rays, I'm reminded of recently there was there are certain rays that are very difficult to detect. They've put these detectors a mile underground in this enormous vat of water to capture these rays that go right through the earth. They don't even notice the earth. It's like they just, boom, they're gone. And two of these high energy particles were discovered from a supernova, or a hypernova, I think even. There's even a level beyond supernova, from some incredibly distant galaxy. You know, and it's just, it's sort of amazing to think, okay, two of these particles finally showed up after how many billions of years, in the journey. You'd think maybe they would say, gosh, it's really a long trip over here. But the vastness of the universe. I was studying, this is a weird obsession, but I was studying large numbers. I used to just spin off into this as a kid, but I didn't know that there's a whole sort of science of really, really, really big numbers. We've all heard the term Google, and I don't mean the place where you search for things on the internet. The word is Googol. Okay, well, a Google is a one with 100 zeros after it. Okay? Well, there's a bigger number called a Googleplex, which is and that's the name of the headquarters, by the way, apparently. A Google to a Google power is a Googleplex. Well, that's a lot of Google, that's a whole lot of numbers. And then there are a whole series of numbers that go on beyond that are way, way, way bigger than the number of individual atoms in the entire universe. I mean, just beyond comprehension, that makes the universe into this little nothing. And if you want to see God in that entirety and take that in with mortal eyes, that's going to be a little overwhelming. That's going to be like, whoa, okay, that was too much. And afterwards, Arjuna says to Krishna, and there's a reading later in the year that addresses this topic more specifically, but afterwards, Arjuna says to Krishna, could you just be my friend again? Can I just see you as a mortal being, because this is just like way too much. But for us, Master gave us this lovely, lovely example, this very poignant chapter in his life. He loses his mother at age 11, and he wants to see her again. And they live in the area where Master Mahashaya lives, and Master Mahashaya is inhabiting the very home that his mother passed away in. And, and they have this whole discussion about, is the house, does it have some kind of ill energy? Because there were other deaths that happened in that house. And so it was like, what is it about this house? And Master Mahashaya says, no. People's karma drew them here, and it's perfectly fine. I did a puja, or I did something, and it's perfectly wonderful. But Master Mahashaya gives him the experience of seeing his mother and receiving a message from the Divine Mother later on. And Master said afterwards, this message that came from the Divine Mother, I mean, he's testing Master Mahashaya. He's pestering him. Even after he has the experience, he comes the next day, and there's a little, sort of a little cloth or something wrapped around the doorknob, symbolizing, I'm praying. This is like do not disturb. You hang on your hotel doorknob, and he disturbs anyway. He just goes plowing right in. And, the hour of decorum had not quite come, but still, he was there. And Master Mahashaya greets him, and he's after him. He says, what message did you get? And Master Mahashaya won't speak. And he pesters him a little more. Why do saints never speak clearly? And then he says, perhaps I was a little provoked. And then Master Mahashaya very clearly says, how could I add another word to the beautiful message you received from the Divine Mother herself last evening at 10 o'clock? And he had this wonderful vision in which the Divine Mother came to him and said, I have nursed you through many, many lives, through many, many mothers, but in this lifetime, I came as myself. And I love you always. And, and Master dives on the floor again, just, tears streaming down his face. He says, Master Mahashaya held the floodgates of my heart. And, that experience can be ours as well. All of us have lost someone. All of us, in a deeper sense, all of us have lost the Divine Mother because we don't have that vision all the time. And yet, it can come to us. It is available to us. This song that I dared to chant this morning, Lord, I long to see thee. It has lovely harmonies, and I couldn't really do justice to the chording because there's some lovely dissonant chords in there that express that poignancy, that longing, that just calling to God. That has to well up from inside of us. Divine Mother doesn't impose herself on us, but if we want that vision, it can come to us. It is available to us. And Swamiji lived his life in that quest, you might say. He would visit shrines of the Divine Mother wherever he could find them, in Europe, in Mexico, in India, and anywhere that he could find a place where they worship the Divine Mother, he would go to find her blessing there. And we, all of us, can live that search, that calling. This vast universe can seem incomprehensible to us. The myriad of forms and the bewildering circumstances that come to us in life. I mean, as Nirmala was describing Feynman's word, it's a mess of energy, or it's a cosmic soup. I mean, we can feel like one of the peas in the bottom of the bowl, getting sloshed around by somebody's spoon stirring the soup. I mean, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by this life and this world. But it's interesting because even physics says that it comes into manifestation according to our attention, according to our measuring of it. And this is quantum physics. I mean, and Einstein's response to that was, I prefer to think that the moon is still there even when I'm not looking at it. Because, it's like, well, wait a minute, is it really there if I'm not seeing it, if I'm not calling on it? But see, we, all of us, make the universe that we live in because we, all of us, pay attention to certain parts of it. We focus on different aspects of it. And then the universe responds to us accordingly. The same street out here, Coloma Road, which could be affectionately called Church Street because there's church after church after church on it. But if any 10 people drive on that street, some of them may notice the churches. Some of them may notice that there's a pothole in the road. Some of them may be looking in the sky. Others may notice the landscaping on one side or the other, or the flowers, or the amazing lights on the houses during Christmas time at night. We all focus on different things and ascribe and receive meaning from those things. But we can choose what we focus on. And that's how that divine experience can come to us, because we finally just say, no, Lord, I want you. I want only you. I want exclusively you. I don't want the show. The beautiful song, life is a dream. Time like a stream carries our burdens away. We've all lived in the dream. But if we want to get out of the dream, we have to actually ask and say, Divine Mother, it's a lovely dream. I have learned much. I have been entertained. That's the purpose of life, to learn and to be entertained. How few are either learning or being entertained. But we can say, Mother, enough now. Now you have to come to me. And that's the feeling and that's the character of that song, Lord, I long to see thee. Lord, I long to see. Let us make that spirit, whether those specific words or not, in the language of each of our hearts, let us make that yearning our own call in our own way to the divine. And then we will, in fact, see the divine in a way that we can understand and perceive. And hopefully not with the hair standing on end like Arjuna, but in a way that's just very nurturing and helpful and uplifting to us.